His Excellency Mr. Ly Thuch, Senior Minister and First Vice President of Cambodian Mine Action and Victim Assistance Authority, His Excellency Mr. Morten Høglund, Norway's dedicated ASEAN Ambassador, Her Excellency Kate Warren, Ambassador of Ireland to Vietnam, Excellencies, ASEAN University students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to welcome you to the commemoration of 2019, the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. I wish to congratulate the Permanent Secretariat of the ASEAN Regional Mine Action Center, or ARMAC, for the hardworking and excellent arrangement of this event under the theme Raising Mines ERW Awareness for Peace, Stability and Resilience in ASEAN through youth participation. This event aims to first promote the commemoration of the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action as a global effort to address the issue of mines ERW. 2. Share basic knowledge with ASEAN University students on the effects of mines ERW and efforts to address them. And 3. Raise awareness on the dangers of mines ERW within affected communities, particularly among youth. Since youth participation is in the main objective of this project, the selection of youth from ASEAN countries has been carefully considered with the kind assistance from ASEC in both publicizing the project scholarship to ASEAN University students and conducting, together with the ARMAC, the assessment of student selection. The 32 students presented here have been awarded scholarship to attend these activities based on their 2 submitted materials, which are first, an essay or artwork in the effects of mine ERW and efforts to address them, and 2, an action plan to raise mine ERW awareness upon their return to their respective countries. The selected students would attend the 2-day activities. Yesterday, they had an opportunity to visit the training center of the National Center for Peacekeeping Forces, Mines and ERW Clearance, to learn about the ties and dangers of mines and ERW, the mock-up mine field to see the field conditions of mines and ERW, and the training of deminers using various demining equipment and techniques. In addition to the training center, they also visited Van Thiet Field Vocational Training Center and meet the mine ERW survivors to learn about the training activities and the stories of the survivors. This afternoon, they will have group discussions on their action plan to raise mine ERW awareness in their respective countries.
And for inviting me to be part of this commemoration of the 2019 International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. It's a great pleasure to be here among all of you. Cambodia has a special place in Norwegian mine action. The Norwegian government has funded humanitarian mine action in this country for 25 years. Cambodia was also the birthplace of Norwegian People Aid's Mine Action Program. In the wider ASEAN region, Norway has also been supporting mine action in Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, and Thailand. The lives and limbs that have been saved as a result of these partnerships is testament to what can be achieved if we work together in a consistent and focused manner with ambitious goals and sound strategies. Humanitarian mine action continues to be a priority for our government. We aim to use Norway's presidency of the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention this year to bring renewed political attention to mine action and to highlight how the convention is a key protection instrument. We believe the objectives of the convention to save lives, protect civilians, assist victims, and to enable sustainable development in affected areas are as relevant as ever. The 4th Review Conference in Oslo in November this year provides an opportunity to refocus our efforts and to make a plan for the achievement of the objectives of the Convention. In the spirit of meeting these objectives, Norway is privileged to support this commemoration, which brings together university students from ASEAN member states, as well as mine action stakeholders in host country, UN agency, ICRC, national mine action centers and authorities, and mine action operators. I am very pleased to see so many dedicated young people in the audience from ASEAN member states today. I have no doubt that your involvement in this event will increase your awareness of the dangers and risks of mines, explosive remnants of war, ERW, and as you will later on raise mines, ERW awareness to your peers, networks, universities and communities via digital and social media or direct interaction, you will eventually contribute to reducing the number of casualties caused by mines and ERW. But perhaps more importantly, your involvement in this program is a key part of building a culture of peace in ASEAN, which can be carried forward as you grow older. So let me congratulate you all for becoming agents of change in the maintenance and promotion of peace and security in ASEAN. And I would like to use the opportunity to thank all of you on behalf of the Norwegian government for being a crucial human factor in the creation and promotion of peace, stability and resilience in ASEAN. Thank you.
Your Excellency Panyarak Poolthup, Ambassador of the Kingdom of Thailand to Cambodia, Your Excellency Morten Høglund, Norway dedicated ambassadors, ASEAN ambassadors, Your Excellency Guide Morten, Ambassador of Ireland to Vietnam. I hope I did not change your name. If I did, you forgive me. Your Excellencies, I recognize the presence of the UN resident coordinators, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, dear my friends, dear friends, young friends, and dear friends from the ASEAN member states, but welcome to you. Good morning. I recognize the presence of you. 62 of you has come from different parts of our region to be here. I would like to bid a very warm welcome to you. I would wish you a very memorable visit to our kingdom. Thank you very much for being here with us. Warm welcome to you too, our friends from Cambodia. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I wish to convey our Prime Minister and President of CMAA, Mine Action Authority, Samdech Pram Sa Hun Sen, kindest regards to all of you. And also I wish to convey warmest regard from our Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, who cannot make the trip here because due to his obligations and other obligations this morning. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted and honored to address the floor on International Day of Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action this year under the theme of raising mine and ERW awareness for peace, stability, and resilience in ASEAN through youth participation. It also my great pleasure to see some friends, some great friends here from my time in Mine Action, where we have cultivated friendship and built trust with one another. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Government of Norway, to the Thai government, the Government of Ireland, Clearing for Results projects supported by Australia, Switzerland, UNIPEACE and Canada, the Association Internationale des Étudiants en Sciences Économiques et Commerciales, and the National Center for Peacekeeping Forces, Mines, and ERW Clearance for their support to this event. My sincere appreciation also goes to the ASEAN Regional My Action Center, more popularly known as, in short, ARMAC, for organizing this important event. It has been 6 years since Samdech Maha Sanaderecho Hun Sen, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia, proposed the establishment of ARMAC at the 21st ASEAN Summit in Phnom Penh in 2012. And the ASEAN leaders adopted the proposal. Now I have learned with enthusiasm and admiration the progress and achievements that ARMAC has made to support the affected ASEAN member states to address the problems of mines and ERW. And significantly, the fact that this center has gained credibility from the global mine action communities. Taking this opportunity, I wish to sincerely extend my appreciation and thanks to ARMAC leadership and also to the successive chairs of the ARMAC steering committees, respectively the Philippines, Singapore, and now Thailand. I thank those three friends, our ambassadors from those three countries, for their leadership to make ARMAC happen and functioning well today. The outcome of these endeavors has further invigorated ASEAN unity in its efforts to implement ASEAN Political Security Community Blueprint 2025. Last but not least, I would like to congratulate and thank the students who has won sponsorship to attend this International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. Hello, how are you? You raise your hand, we can see you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. You are, before we arrive in this room, we tour your masterpieces outside a bit. And thank you very much for your heartfelt, inspiring messages. You've done a good job. You are the future. You are the hope and the rise of our world. We thank you for being here with us today.
My name is Roman. I am a head of mission of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Today, I am privileged to moderate our panel discussions. Before we start, I ask one question because I know my accent is very heavy. I'm doing my best to improve English. Do you all understand me? Very good. Very good. It's a good beginning. So with this, I declare that our panel session can be started. Today is a very special day for us, but also for you. You have, dear students and guests, unique chance to see the leading humanitarian organizations with their distinguished representatives all together, who had to come from different locations together today and to share in very limited time their knowledge. You have experts in advocacy and knowledge sharing. You have experts in humanitarian demining. You have also experts in victim assistance. We don't have much time. We have to be very strict and to stick to maximum 7 minutes rule for presentation. I will go from one honorable panelist to another with short introduction and questions. After we finish, there will be maybe 15 minutes for questions and answers. And of course, questions will come. Please take this opportunity. It's very difficult to gather all these honorable colleagues at one spot. So the first panelist is Cambodian Mine Action Authority. It's a coordinating body of whole mine action and for all actors who are dealing in mine action. They're also responsible for country strategy to make Cambodia clear from mines by 2025. We have very special guest today, Mr. Tan Sara, with wide experience to work in the government and also a long experience of working in Cambodian Mine Action Authority. He was, by the way, personally involved in drafting National Strategic Plan 2018-2025, Cambodia Clear. Mr. Tan Sara, he is sitting on the right. My first question to you: how many people have been killed and injured by these explosive hazards? What are the damages and threats beside casualties?
Thank you for your question. So thank for your question, and maybe you do aware that Cambodia have been falling into the regional and internal conflicts. It as a part of the Indo-China War, starting from 1960 and led 1998. So Cambodia faced very difficult challenges regarding landmine and ERW. That is the result of Cambodian civil war that affected the whole country for long. So it's cost around 64,000 people killed, injured, amputated. And then in there, 80% of people caused by mine and 20% of people caused by ERW. And 90% of people is male and 10% is female. And 31% is killed and 79% both of injury and amputation also. So this one based on the national database recording from 1979 until today. So maybe you know that during the war, during the conflicts, most of the property have been destroyed inside the country. And the contamination of landmine and EW scattered across the country for long. Then it still remains high threat to community.
Speed up the levels of clearance. So right now on annual basis, we achieve about over 100 square kilometers in terms of releasing clear land. And so far we destroy more than 2.5 items of explosive ordnance, landmines, and UXO. And of course, since the beginning of the establishment of this organization, CMAC has released more than 1,000 square kilometers for the reconstruction, for resettlement, agriculture, so on and so forth. I just want to repeat our senior minister always mentioned in comparative to the size of Singapore. So we clear over 1,100 square kilometers so far, just for CMAC alone. Okay.
The number is really impressive. I wonder what tools are used for demining.
So initially, when from the start, we mostly focus on manual before the development of new methodologies. So I'm sure every one of you, when you talk about landmine clearance, you will think about tedious process where a man and a detector, would open a lane and go and clear it inches by inches, square meter by square meter. That during the initial day when we had refugees come back from Thai border at the end of the Cambodian conflict. And so our task was emergency, so we have to clear everything for them to resettle back in Cambodia. But over time, over year, the technology and methodology evolved. We cannot clear every square meter. We have to come up with a new methodology, new thinking, in order to speed up the process, in order to release land much more faster in response to the need of the people. So we introduced the mechanical clearance. We introduced the animal detection. So of course the detector is still being used. We have to survey, we have to study the information, try to collect as much as information. And then you come up with the best response to that particular task. For example, one area with 100 hectares. So you have to try to collect all the information, desk study, survey, ask the villager, former military personnel that have information in relation to that contamination spot. Then you will come up with a solution or apply proper tool to release those land.
Okay. My last question, Mr. Sun Prazet, because you mentioned methodology. Since many of us are not technical experts in demining, in simple words, what methodology is about, what it means?
All right, like I mentioned earlier, initially we go with full clearance, that means every square meter. So based on the contamination of Cambodia, will take you 300 to 300 years. So we're not going to live like that. So with the national strategy, as my colleague mentioned, 2025, we have to clear all the known area. So what we are using now is we call land release methodology, which is IMAS as well, actually. So it's applied by all the operators around the world, not just in Cambodia. So simply put, land release, basically applying a reasonable effort, to maximize the release of land with as minimal risk as possible. Of course, we have to take the risk. It's not 100% clear, it's for sure. Even you work in the airline industry, if you see the airplane crash, it's the same in mine action. So, of course, based on our information collected, our study, a survey over the area, so we decided, okay, this is safe to release. But at the end of the day, whether it's 100%, well, no, in any industry it's the same. You cannot have 100% safety. But so far we have not found any accident in relation to the land that we have released back to the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear colleagues, our next panelist is Program Manager of EPOPO, Mr. Michael Hyman. This organization is one of the most creative and pioneering we could say, methodology to augment efficiency of demining process. They work here in Cambodia in close collaboration with Cambodian Mine Action Center. They use demining rats and dogs. These rats and dogs are used in only few countries in the world. Mr. Michael, he has a very rich experience in Middle East. He worked in Israel, Palestine, West Bank, And here he manages this program. He is here to share his experience. Mr. Michael, we all very curious, and even me, why does Apopo choose to use demining rats and dogs?
Thank you very much, Roman, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Apopo is not the only organization using animals, as you have seen. CMAC are also using animals in Cambodia, and both NPA and MAG are using animals around the world. The reason why animals were brought into mine clearance from the beginning is because these large areas that we are clearing, they usually contain quite a big amount of metal scrap, where traditional methods of manual clearance sometimes they become quite slow. Animals, they have the ability to skip over these metallic objects and to focus only on the explosives. So Apopo believes that rats are quite a good tool for clearance, because the rats were born for micro-search. So naturally they can search for items in the ground, while dogs are much better for technical surveys, investigation tasks that we do inside these hazardous areas before we actually identify the areas that we should clear. Apopo was founded in 1997, and we have been training rats for many years, mainly in Africa. And in 2015, it was the first time that Apopo got its rats out of the African continent, and the first country is here, Cambodia.
Thank you so much. And what are the difference between using demining dogs and rats in their applications?
Both dogs and rats are good for mine detection. We're talking about mines, but of course, as you can understand, it's not only mines, it's all kind of explosive remnants of war. Dogs, in their nature, they are trackers. A dog can chase after a rabbit. A dog can look for a piece of explosives in a room, or he can look for drugs in a bag or a container. When the dog is working, he picks up his sense from the whole environment, from the plants, from the objects, from the ground, from everywhere. That's why when we do technical survey, it's much quicker and it's much more cost efficient to use dogs, because you don't necessarily need to cut the vegetations. Dog can penetrate into the areas and looking for these signs to find these signs of explosives, signs of mines and unexploded ordnance. So that's why dogs is much cost efficient to identify those hazardous areas inside a wider area. The rats, because by nature they are looking for food, they are born, they know how to search for food in the ground. So a dog, which is a tracker, if you want to train him to look for items in the ground, you need to show him how to do it, because it doesn't come naturally. So you need to train him quite a lot, and then he learns how to sniff the ground continuously in order not to miss a single target. But for the rat, it comes more naturally. That's why we address clearance with rats and technical survey with dogs. Of course, dogs, they have advantages, because rats, since they are very small, as you can see in the pictures here, they require ground preparation, they require vegetation cutting, and they can work in a terrain that is relatively flat, while dogs, they pretty much can work everywhere. So before we deploy these two animals in operation, the most important thing for us is to be as cost efficient as possible. So then we decide where we're going to use dogs and where we're going to use rats. Rats, in terms of training, feeding, medical care, it's much more simple than dogs. It also makes them more reliable tool in very remote areas, because, for example, you don't need any special food for the rats. They eat pretty much everything from the market, except durian, of course. Yeah, so it's quite easy to operate with them. But as I said, there is no, it's not that the rats are better than dogs and dogs are better than rats. Each one of these animals has a place in mine action, and in many, many areas, using these two animals, it can make your work much more cost efficient than it's done with other tools.
Thank you. I think for all of us will be very interesting to know a bit more how you manage to train them, how to train rats and how to train dogs to detect.
The rats we're using are African giant pouched rats. They come from Tanzania, from Africa. Our training center, Research and Development Center, is in Morogoro, Tanzania. The rats, after they are born, they have been trained for between 9 months and a year. When the first step is basically the familiarization with the rats with people until they feel comfortable to be around people. And then we slowly we start introducing them to a process that we call target discrimination. We introduce them to TNT, and then we start adding other things.
What are costs in training and operating these animals?
We don't sell rats, and we don't sell dogs, so there is no price. There is no price tag on the animal. But with the calculations that we did a few years ago, it was about 6,000 euros to produce a rat from the beginning to the end, including all the breeding costs. But eventually, I think that I know that in operations, not in all areas, because as you know, animals, they also have their pros and cons. And we are lucky that in Cambodia there are many areas that these animals can work. In general, in these areas where we can work in Cambodia, for example, the cost of clearing confirmed hazardous areas using rats and manual deminers and machines in complementary roles, it's about 30 cents per square meter, including the three components. Animals, they're not working alone, as you know. We still use people and we still use machines for ground preparation and target investigation. With the dogs, it's more or less the same price, but it really varies between different places. In Cambodia, it's relatively low if you compare it to the Middle East or Africa or Colombia. But we only deploy animals in places where we can reach this cost efficiency targets. In areas where we see that we can't deploy animals, so obviously if you're going to push the animals into these areas, then you will have a much higher cost. So animals in general, they are a part of the whole toolbox. It's not the ultimate tool for mine clearance, but it has its place, quite a decent place in mine action in Cambodia and globally.
Mr. Damian, could you highlight some of best practices in your standard operating procedures regarding safety and well-being of your staff members?
Thank you. I think first of all, as you explained, we employ over 1,000 people in Cambodia, over 1,000 Cambodians. Around 800 of those are deminers. So what does a deminer do? First of all, I just want to make it clear, and the students who did their trips out yesterday, you will have seen this. What does a deminer not do? A deminer is not trained to defuse mines and bombs. Deminers are not trained to blow things up. Deminers are trained to look for mines or look for evidence of mines. And when they find that evidence, then they stop and they call a supervisor who will come and confirm what sort of device, whether there's a device there, and then that supervisor, who is trained in explosive ordnance disposal, will deal with the item. So our deminers, this way our deminers are shielded from risk as much as possible in their activity. They're trained to look for things. And the safety of the deminers starts before clearance. It starts with the survey of the minefield initially, and that survey, done properly, will make sure that we know exactly what type of devices we're looking for in that minefield, where those devices are in the minefield, and what equipment is needed to locate them. So once the deminers start clearance, there are a number of safety issues. You can see the pictures here with the deminers wearing protective equipment, protective aprons and visors and helmets. The deminers are medically trained as well to respond to accidents in the minefield. And there are a number of procedures that govern how closely deminers can work with each other to ensure that there is adequate safety distance, which again takes into account the type of device in the minefield and the likely effect if one is unintentionally initiated. The safety record in humanitarian demining is very good because we have developed our procedures over a number of years, and it's not our intention to put our staff in harm's way. The main threat to the safety and well-being of our deminers is not accidents in the minefield, it's road traffic accidents traveling to and from the minefields, and that is an issue in Cambodia. Road safety is an issue in a lot of the countries we work in. But it's important that you understand that although there is some inherent risk in demining, when most of the accidents that have occurred on this program, which have resulted in people going to hospital, have been road accidents.
Mr. Chania, what mine risk education is about?
Yes, so first of all, my respect to Excellency Ambassador, Excellency, ladies, gentlemen, and all the youth and students who are being here today with us. For me, on behalf of UNICEF, it is really a great pleasure and very honor to be at this very occasional, events that is organized by ARMAC. So I think it's a really great opportunity. So in response to the question, why and what is the mine education programs? So basically, as you all know, UNICEF is a leading agency globally on mine education programs. So we also support the national and international partner and development partner to develop mine education standards. So the definition of mine education basically is about all activity that lead to the reuse or prevents any injury or accidents or lead to death of any affected population, including the raising awareness in changing the behaviors. But please also be informed that mine education is not only about increasing knowledge and behaviors, but it's also about the engaging with the affected community to prioritize their own need in order to address the issue. So that is something that UNICEF work very, very, effectively in supporting development partner. Although UNICEF is not the implementing partner, but we are supporting different national and international agencies, including the government, to do the mine risk education programs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What are the reasons for mine risk education? Why do we need it, and why it is important in child protection?
Mine risk education, it is very important. Why? Because mine risk education is the frontline mine action operator, basically. Because we cannot wait for the mining to clear the contamination area. So that is why mine risk education has to support mine clearance team. For instance, in terms of the mine marking team, people need to understand why do we need to put mine marking sign, and Mind marking sign, people need to understand, and clearance also need to mark in the contamination area where they cannot deploy the team quickly. And secondly, if you look at in terms of population, they are internally migrate from place to place, and they do not know where mine and UXO. That is in the past, but I will tell you about the evolution about Mind-based education. Because during the repatriation in 1992, after the repatriation of all refugees from different countries, and also the internal displaced population in the country, they've been asked by the government to move back to the original village, where the landmine and explosive remnant of war by that time has not yet been clear, because we were part of like a post-conflict area. The war just finished, and you got to move back, and you move back to live in a contamination area. So people need knowledge on mine and UXO, and all that time, Mind-based education is focusing on key messages, approaches to deliver to them so that they know where mine UXO, and they learn how to prevent from accident and injury. That's the first stage. And another issue is that population who are living in the contamination area, they need their own development activity. They need to do their own farming. They need to expand the agricultural land. They need to access to the water. So all of these areas, on the time, they were not safe. So how they can behave in the way that they can live safely in the contamination area. That is the role of Mind-based education operator. And one important thing that UNICEF is trying to do is to integrate Mind-based education with the school curriculum. We work with Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport. So all pre-service and in-service teachers are trained on how to train to their students, and students have been established like a child-to-child Mind-based education where they can go and educate to the other children who are living in contamination area, but they did not attend school. So this is one of the key important, and I think the sustainability has been an approach of UNICEF working with the government in strengthening their capacity, integrating key messages into a national training curriculums, and also with the police, also with the Royal Armed Force in order for them to be able to enforce. Because Mind-based education alone doesn't work. They need demining. We need government who can enforce the law. Because you can see some people, they are benefiting from the scrap metal. The scrap metal on that time were very expensive. People looking for scrap metal to extract explosives so that they can sell the empty rock. That's where the high casualty happened. So we work with the Mind-based education operator, with NGO civil society. It doesn't work. We need to use police. We need to use military, where they have the statutory role. They can go, arrest, sign contract. I think that is very effective. So you can see Mind-based education in a very different way. Another approach which I would like to conclude is about the liaison. Liaison is very important, because liaison, that means community who are living in contamination area, they come together, they do their own mapping of the existing contamination area, and they make decision for Mind-based education, for mine clearance operator to come. They said, this is our priority. So mine clearance and Mind-based education, we don't come with our priority, but we base on the needs and the proposal of the community who are living in contamination area.
Thank you so much. And of course, it's clear that in this humanitarian sector, the only key for success is integrated approach. If everyone coordinate and to save, if you want, world together.
If we are looking at the evolution of the Mind-based education, the evolution actually it changed on the changes of the nature of the accident from phase to phase. For instance, like if we look at from 1993 to 1999, Mind-based education was focusing on one-way communication. We try to deliver key messages as much as possible to reach a large scale of population who had just returned from different countries, and including internal displaced population, so that they know what are danger of mine and UXO. So it's more about knowledge and skill. And if we look at the reconstruction phase, that is from year 2000 to year 2025, we are looking at about the enforcement on the monitoring of the scrap metal dealer. And we are looking at working with police, working with the government authority, to enforce the existing law. Because by that time, people, they know we are mine and UXO, but because they benefit from it, due to the economic pressure, due to the family living condition, that is no choice, so they take risks to do their own local demining and searching for scrap metal. So the approach has changed from training them about knowing mine and UXO, we train them about what are the dangers and to stop them by using the existing law in order for them to be able to be held safely. And if we look at the approach in year 2016 to now, we are much more on a participatory approach. Why? Because the contaminated people, or the people are living in the contamination area, and the authority, they need to come together to work to develop the work plan for mine risk education program. And we change from re-education program to reintegrated program with demining, with livelihood developments, and the other income generation activity. So mine risk education has been mainstream into a different development activity. So it's no longer standing as alone mine risk education. And mine risk education team has also been equipped with a multiple skill team. That means they train on mine risk education, they train on how to do like a reporting, and they train how to do like the destruction.
Do you have a final message to students?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I have a final message for students. So I was saying that 27 years after the end of the war, there are still persons that are stepping on landmines. But Cambodia has the objective to be clear of landmines and ERW by 2025. Victim assistance will not end in 2025. So the victims will still be there, and they will be victims until the end of their lives. So it is important not to forget that once a country is, let's say, mine-free, it's important not to forget that the survivors are still there and still need the attention of everybody. So, yeah, I don't know what you will be doing after your studies and in which area you're going to work. But I think I will ask you to pay special attention to ensure that in everything you do, be sure that in a broader way, all persons with disability can access the services if you provide services, can access the services you are providing. And try to be inclusive in everything you do. And don't forget about the persons who also need your support and represent about 15% of the population.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. They, first of all, serve as a resource advisor on how to set up national mine action structures, but also how to develop national mine action standards. There are a lot of files on shoulders of Mrs. Marta, which is, of course, remarkable. My question is, Norway and other countries which are not affected at all by mines, but you help in this domain in Myanmar or in Cambodia, why is that?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to meet with all the students, honorable guests. Thank you, ARMAC, for the invitation. I think the simple answer to your question is because we care. I think you can hear the passion in the room about removing the mines that are still around and the cluster munition. The bit longer one is that we can. We have the technology for it. There is no reason not to remove them. We know how to. This is not an unknown disease that we're trying to find a cure for. The cure is already there. We know, as we heard from CMAC and others, that it is a challenge in terms of other development initiatives. It's a precursor to implement the Sustainable Development Goals because agricultural land cannot be used because of mines. Access to education can be difficult because you can't access the school or build a school, etc., etc., etc. The list is long and you already heard it. So this is important. And there are also, of course, not all about altruism. I think also the fact that in the Mine Ban Treaty, which is one of the most heavily or biggest ratified treaties in the world, with 168 countries that have signed up, there is an obligation to help other countries. So Article 6 talks about how states can seek assistance and should receive assistance. So it's also an obligation that we have as treaty signatories. And the last one is, as one has seen in this region, that the countries that were part of laying the mines or leaving the cluster munition have to a certain degree also felt the responsibility to be part of cleaning it up.
So, yes, dear students, signing a treaty, it's not just about signing, but it also brings certain obligations, and it is impressive that Norway and other countries in the international community so seriously consider it rather than a simple accession to the treaty. In brief, to highlight key efforts so far of Norwegian People's Aid as well as Global Mine Action Community.
Well, the numbers you've heard already today are quite impressive for Cambodia. And NPA alone, which started in 1993 here in Cambodia, has worldwide cleared more than 874 square kilometers of land in 40 countries. So that's a big number, but if you can envision 125,000 football pitches, that's as much land as it is, and how that can be used. And that's just us. And we're not alone. We're part of a global community here with representatives from many organizations. And in the last 20 years, this global community has removed more than 4 million landmines. And not only that, but destroyed 54 million landmines that are in stockpiles, so not yet used, to avoid that they will be used in the future, which is equally important. So that's quite impressive. And I think in addition to clearance, it's all the mine risk awareness work and the mine risk education that is done around the world, that are millions of people that have been reached over the last 20 years, and the victims' assistance. So it has an impact on the broader development of a country. And the sector is currently, it's quite an impressive sector in terms of being innovative. As you could hear from Apopo, the use of rats, the use of dogs, as NPA also does, and trying to find other methods to be as cost efficient and as much use the money as efficiently as we can to clear long-term minefields from wars that have finished in a faster way. As you heard, if we used old methodology, we would have spent 300 years in Cambodia. Now we're hopefully down to much, much, much shorter time than that because of the methodology that we use now. And there are also new threats coming in, such as urban areas of Iraq that are seeing improvised devices. So we constantly need to learn, and we share that as a sector. And that's something that also into the Sustainable Development Goals is really something that other development actors can learn from the mine action sector, how we share both our mistakes so that others don't make the same and don't have accidents, and also how we share the methodology and the faster ways of working. And I think that's an impressive effort as well that you can't put a number on, but that is extremely important to remember.
Thank you so much.
Your Excellencies, my fellow delegates from ASEAN member states and distinguished guests, Let me greet you all, Mingalawa. My name is Hei Mei Aung, and I am a student representative from University of Yangon, Myanmar. It is such an honor for me to highlight some effects of mines and explosive remnants of wars. Sadly, our country, Myanmar has the longest civil war not only in ASEAN region but also in the world. Growing up in a military background, as my father is a soldier, since my childhood, I have become curious to know why people are fighting each other, why wars are dangerous, and why these so-called weapons are severely fatal, including mines and other explosive weapons. Civil wars still continue throughout the country, and many people around me were damaged and negatively impacted by wars. When I was around 12 or 13, I still remember the day when we got the news that an officer from our command died since he stepped on a mine, and his wife just gave birth to their son. My mom, she couldn't help herself crying a lot because when she met the girl at the hospital, she was saying, "Oh sister, how lovely our son is. He absolutely looked like his father. Do you know when they are coming back? I can't wait to show our boy to him." She didn't really know that she and her son could never see their beloved husband and dad. This critical moment made me highly aware of how mines and such explosive remnants of wars could bring sadness and happiness, worries and tears, not only to the members of these armed forces, but also to their families, parents, friends, as well as wives and their beloved children. As well as, it made me aware that it is really needed to revitalize their lives as they have lost a man leading their families. I believe that youths can initiate socioeconomic recovery programs and activities in community through empathetic and sympathetic actions and mindsets. And as long as war continues, there will still be the use of explosive and deadly weapons. Therefore, stopping wars and violence will be the only means to stop the use of mines and explosive remnants of wars. Thus, I think young people participated in this process through individual contribution to nation building and peace building process. Starting from raising awareness in the community, individually, locally, regionally, and internationally. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andu and I'm from Vietnam. I'm an international business student at Foreign Trade University in Ho Chi Minh City. And today, I want to share with you the message that I want to convey within my drawing and also the sort of motivation that I took for drawing this picture. His wife is cooking delicious meal for the family. His young son is studying as he wants to become a doctor so that he could take care of mom and dad. His little sister is more on the creative side. He filled the walls in the house with her beautiful pictures that she drew. So I hope that each of you here have your own loving family like this. And I have the people that I love too, my family, those who I treasure so much. And I just can't imagine how sad and how heartbreaking it would be if one day I return home not seeing them anymore. Like, it's impossible to think of, right? Not being able to see the people you love anymore. But for the people in this picture, that's the case. Because there is a huge, monstrous bomb that was left during the war that is going to explode within just a few seconds. The bomb that had been left since the war that ended half a decade ago is going to turn everything into dust. And you might question, you might think that, okay, how can something this horrible be true? But I tell you, this is from very real life stories. So there's a man named Mo Mang Hon. He lived in Hà Giang. And in 2002, an accident with an unexploded bomb took one of his legs. He was determined not to let that disability get in the way, so he tried to raise a herd of goats. But in a cruel twist of fate, while herding his goats, he tripped on another unexploded bomb, and this time it deprived him of the remaining healthy legs. He luckily survived, but he could no longer do anything due to the explosion has dealt irrecoverable trauma to his head and chest. He was the only breadwinner of his family. He has one wife and another 3 small children. Another man named Nguyễn Văn Thi, he was 45 when he found an explosive while tending his crop back in 1999. Not knowing what it was, he picked up the device, brushed off the dust, and then tapped with his hole. Then it blew up his hand. And then in August 2013, he was planting trees outside his village when he struck another forgotten US bomb. This one erupted into a powerful fireball that scorched his legs, eliminated half of his left boot, 2 fingers, fractured his arm, and partially blinded him. These are just 2 small stories out of thousands and thousands of cases where healthy, innocent people were made disabled due to the explosive remnants of war. Loss of arms, legs, eyesight are the more fortunate ones because many people have lost their own lives and family. Tomorrow, we may be returning to our homeland, out and see our family, right? But for the people living in this area, the war has never been over. They don't know what's beneath them, and they don't even know if tomorrow will ever come. Thank you.
Hello, Excellency and distinguished guests. I'm Katrina and I'm from Singapore. I'm currently a business student at National University of Singapore. So my poem is called What a Mind Could Do to What Is Mine. My poem is a story of 2 children, one of a 12-year-old Singaporean girl called Auntie, who is studying for PSLE, a national exam to qualify to the next level of education. And I am one of a 12-year-old Cambodian girl called Ariana, who is a landmine survivor and trying to adjust back to normal life to continue her education. The names Auntie and Ariana means peace, which is what I hope that all children will eventually have. What motivated me to write this is because coming from Singapore, a country not really affected by landmines, the childhood a Singaporean child has is very different from the childhood a Cambodian child has, as Cambodia is a country affected by landmines. I wanted to showcase and contrast the differences between true stories from both countries and appeal to the emotions of readers through the innocent and simple perspective of a child. I was inspired by this poetic form known as twin cinema, which originated in Singapore. This poem can be read in 3 ways. The left column by itself shows the life of a child who is not affected by landmines and the ideal childhood a child should have. The right column by itself shows the life of a child who is affected by landmines and the reality of the childhood a child could have due to the presence of landmines. Both columns together, from left to right, show that the 2 separate lives can intervene together and have more in common than you think. The first to 4th paragraph is about the impacts of mind. The first paragraph focus is on starting out with good health, but then the mind impacts their health that creates and destroys the future ahead of them. The second paragraph focus is on starting out with a good living environment, but then the mind impacts their safety of the environment that builds or cuts their family relationship. The third paragraph's focus is on starting out with a good childhood, but then the mind impacts their social activities that nurtures or weakens their friendships. The fourth paragraph's focus is on starting out with a good career, but then the mind impacts their finances and education that leads to many career options or no career options. The fifth paragraph is about the urgent need for efforts to address the issues of mind through through education to prevent consequences arising. Finally, the last paragraph is about what can be done to tackle this issue of mine and how these solutions can empower and protect the children of both countries. I hope that you have understood and felt impacted to make a difference after reading the poem. These might be stories of two fictional characters, but it is a story felt and experienced by many children in Singapore and Cambodia today. To end off this speech, I'll read out some excerpts from my poems. A peaceful life, a safe home, a worry-free journey, and an explosive device. That is what is mine, with only one mind being allowed to exist. One ground with two different outcomes. A strong awareness, unequivocal support, an access to knowledge, and an explosive device. That is what is mine, with the power to move one mind. One education with two different actions. Thank you.
His Excellency Mr. Morten Høglund, Norway's dedicated ASEAN Ambassador, Her Excellency Kate Warren, Ambassador of Ireland to Vietnam, ASEAN University students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we come to the official closing session of the commemoration of the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. But the students' activities is still going on in the afternoon. Allow me to address the students first. I hope that during this two-day activity, you have been armed with knowledge and awareness on the dangers of mines and explosive remnants of war. You have seen and realized how wars have caused great loss to humanities, also from other people's eyes. Hopefully, you, as a young generation, can apply experience that have been shared within these 2 days to help affected communities in one way or another. Hopefully, this project will inspire you enough and lead you to become a responsible resource for ASEAN and the world. Not only knowledge and experience that you have gained here, I'm pleased to see university students from all ASEAN countries had a chance to learn from each other and to build friendship. This will contribute to the strengthening of the true ASEAN community. And the old generation like us who presents here needs your positive energy and your sharpened skills to help us connect and create a better world. This project would not be possible without all the donors and dedicated experts who specialize in mine action and victim assistance. Thank you all for your contribution, resulting in the success of this commemoration. Also, once again, I wish to thank the Permanent Secretariat of ARMAC for their hardworking and excellent arrangement of the two-day activities. Lastly, may I take this opportunity to wish my best to all ASEAN students here in your future endeavors. Hopefully, in the future, we will see some of you engage in other regional international forums. Thank you.